The unexpected reunion. Marcus Reed wiped down the mixing console with practiced precision, his fingers moving with the muscle memory of someone who had spent thousands of hours at the helm. Outside the windows of Wavelength Studios, autumn rain painted the streets of Harborview in reflective shimmers. 7 years of building this recording space from nothing had given him a sanctuary, a place where other musicians' dreams could flourish, even if his own had withered on the vine. At 36, Marcus had made peace with his choices. The band, Midnight Revival, had dissolved after their European tour imploded. The record deal evaporated, and what remained was a suitcase of regrets and enough technical knowledge to start over. The studio had become his redemption, even if sometimes, during quiet moments like this, he caught himself wondering about roads not taken. "Hey, Marcus!" called Damien, his assistant, poking his head through the door. The Graham session canceled. Something about their drummer having food poisoning. "You're clear for the afternoon." Marcus nodded, hiding his disappointment at the lost revenue. "Thanks. Might as well catch up on some mixing for the Tidal Waves EP." "Actually," Damien hesitated, a strange expression crossing his face. "There's someone here to see you. Says it's personal." Before Marcus could inquire further, a woman appeared in the doorway behind Damien, her presence immediately filling the room with an electric charge Marcus hadn't felt in years. Sophia Winters. Her chestnut hair was shorter now, styled in a bob that framed her face differently than the flowing locks he remembered. Her eyes, those deep amber eyes that had once looked at him like he hung the moon, were cautious, guarded. "Hello, Marcus," she said, her voice carrying the same melody he'd tried to forget. Damien, sensing the tension, quietly slipped away, closing the door behind him. "Sophia?" Her name felt foreign on his tongue after so many years of deliberately not saying it. "This is unexpected." She nodded, clutching her handbag a little tighter. "I know. I should have called first, but I wasn't sure you'd agree to see me." "It's been 7 years," he said, stating the obvious because he couldn't think of anything else to say. The last time they'd spoken had been that rainy night at the airport, her pleading with him not to go on the tour, him insisting this was their one shot at making it big. He'd promised to call every day. He had until her number stopped working. "Yes." She took a deep breath. "I'm back in Harborview permanently. I took a teaching position at the Arts Center." Marcus nodded, struggling to process her sudden reappearance in his life. "That's good. The Arts Center is doing great work." An awkward silence stretched between them, filled with unspoken questions and accusations. "There's something else," Sophia finally said, her voice softening. "Someone else, actually." She glanced at her watch. "He's with my neighbor right now, but he'll be here soon. I asked her to bring him by after school." "He?" Marcus felt a strange tightening in his chest. "My son." She met his eyes directly now. "Our son, Marcus." The world seemed to tilt beneath his feet. "What are you talking about?" "His name is Ethan. He's 6. Her words came faster now. "I found out I was pregnant about a month after you left. I tried to contact you, but your band manager said you didn't want to be disturbed. Then your numbers changed, and the band's social media went dark and—" "Wait!" Marcus interrupted, his mind racing to catch up. "You're saying I have a child? A 6-year-old son I've never met?" Sophia nodded, her eyes welling with tears she quickly blinked away. "He asks about you. I've shown him pictures, told him you make music. He's so much like you. He even drums on everything in sight." Before Marcus could respond, the studio door opened again and a small figure darted in, followed by an apologetic-looking woman who quickly retreated. The boy stopped short, his eyes, unmistakably the same shade of hazel as Marcus's own, widening as he took in the studio and then the man standing there. "Mom, is this him?" the child asked, his voice carrying a note of wonder. "Is this my dad?" Time seemed to freeze as Marcus stared at the boy's face, the same cleft in his chin, the same cowlick in his hair. There was no denying what his heart already knew with absolute certainty. "Ethan," Sophia said gently, "this is Marcus Reed, your father." Marcus slowly knelt down to eye level with his son, the son he never knew existed, and felt his carefully constructed world begin to crumble and rebuild all at once. "Hello, Ethan," he managed, his voice barely a whisper. It's very nice to meet you. Truth and consequences. The small back office of Wavelength Studios had never felt so cramped. Marcus sat across from Sophia, a cup of coffee growing cold between his hands, while Ethan explored the main studio under Damien's watchful eye. Through the glass, Marcus could see his son, tentatively touching a drum set, his face lighting up with each tap of the cymbal. "He's musical," Marcus observed, his voice thick with emotion. "Did you know that would happen?" Sophia's smile was bittersweet. "It was my greatest fear and greatest joy when he started beating rhythms on everything at 2 years old. Some things are just in the blood, I guess." "Why didn't you find me?" The question escaped before Marcus could soften it, carrying years of lost time in its wake. 7 years, Sophia. How could you not tell me? She placed her cup down, composure wavering slightly. "I tried, Marcus. When I found out I was pregnant, I called your manager, Vernon. He said you were focused on the tour and didn't need complications. I sent emails that bounced back. I even reached out to Javier from the band, but he said you wanted a clean break from everything back home." Marcus felt a cold realization wash over him. "Vernon never told me. And Javier? We weren't even speaking by then." He ran his hands through his hair. The tour fell apart 2 months in. Vernon was embezzling tour money, and when we confronted him, he disappeared with everything. We couldn't even afford flights home. "I didn't know," Sophia whispered. "By the time I had Ethan, your social media was gone. The band's website shut down. It was like you vanished." "I came back to Harborview broken a year later," Marcus said. "But you were already gone. My mother got sick. I moved to Philadelphia to care for her with a newborn in tow." Her eyes filled with unshed tears. "It wasn't how I planned life to go." Through the glass, Ethan carefully adjusted a microphone stand, his movements deliberately gentle. "He's careful with instruments," Marcus noted. "I was the same way." "He respects things that make beautiful sounds," Sophia replied. "That's all you two." The silence between them grew heavy with what-ifs, until Marcus finally asked, "Why now?" "After all this time?" Sophia looked directly at him. "He started asking harder questions about you. Not just, where's my dad, but why doesn't he want to know me?" Her voice broke slightly. "I couldn't bear him thinking he wasn't wanted. And when the teaching position opened here, it felt like the universe was giving us a sign." "Does he hate me?" Marcus asked, his greatest fear spilling out. "No," Sophia replied softly. "I never let him. I told him his father was a musician who had to follow his dreams. That sometimes adults make complicated choices." She reached across the table, almost touching his hand before pulling back. "I never vilified you, Marcus. I couldn't. Not when I see you in his face every day." Marcus stood abruptly, moving to the window to watch Ethan, who was now sitting at the piano, pressing keys with deliberate curiosity. "I've missed everything," he said, his voice hollow. "First steps, first words, first day of school." "Yes," Sophia acknowledged. "Those are gone. But there are so many firsts still to come." Later that evening, after Sophia and Ethan had left with a tentative plan for Saturday at the park, Marcus sat alone at his mixing board. He opened the bottom drawer, the one he rarely accessed, and pulled out a velvet pouch. Inside was the engagement ring he'd planned to give Sophia after the European tour. The tour that was supposed to secure their future, but instead had destroyed it. He'd carried it home across an ocean, only to find her apartment empty, her number disconnected. Pride and hurt had prevented him from searching harder. Now, looking at the ring that represented a future that never happened, Marcus realized how much his stubbornness had cost him. He picked up his phone and scrolled to the new contact. Sophia and Ethan. His thumb hovered over the message icon as he wondered what words could possibly bridge 7 years of absence. Finally, he typed, "Thank you for finding me, for bringing him to meet me. I know I have no right to ask, but I'd like to be part of his life if you'll let me." The response came faster than he expected. "He deserves to know his father. And you deserve to know your son." Marcus stared at those words for a long time, understanding that they represented not forgiveness, but possibility. A door cracked open to a future he never knew he wanted until today. Building bridges. The coastal park buzzed with weekend activity as Marcus arrived, carrying a small gift bag that suddenly seemed woefully inadequate. He spotted them easily, Sophia sitting on a bench while Ethan scaled the jungle gym with fearless determination. "He doesn't stop moving," Sophia said by way of greeting. "Another trait he gets from you," Marcus smiled nervously. "I brought him something. Is that okay?" She nodded, watching as Marcus approached the playground. Ethan noticed him, hesitated momentarily, then scrambled down to meet him, curiosity overcoming shyness. "Hi," Ethan said, looking up with eyes that were mirror images of Marcus's own. "Hey, buddy, I brought you something." Marcus knelt and offered the bag. Ethan reached in and pulled out a pair of child-sized drumsticks, his face lighting up. "Are these real ones?" "Professional grade, just sized down," Marcus explained. "Every drummer should have their own sticks." "I'm a drummer?" Ethan asked, testing the weight in his small hands. "If you want to be," Marcus replied carefully. "Music is about wanting it, feeling it here." He tapped his chest gently. The morning unfolded with tentative conversations. Marcus discovered Ethan loved dinosaurs, hated broccoli, and had already read through the first Harry Potter book. "Mom does all the voices," he explained with obvious pride in Sophia's theatrical abilities. After lunch, Sophia suggested they show Marcus their new apartment. The modest two-bedroom space was filled with evidence of their life together. Ethan's artwork covering the refrigerator, Sophia's paintings on the walls, and various musical instruments scattered throughout. "You still paint?" Marcus observed, studying a landscape that captured Harborview's lighthouse in stormy weather. "It's how we survived," Sophia explained while Ethan showed off his room. "I sold commission pieces online while teaching art classes in Philadelphia." "They're beautiful," Marcus said, genuine admiration in his voice. "You always were talented. So were you," she countered. "I heard Wavelength Studios has become quite respected in the industry." A comfortable silence settled between them. The first since her return, until Ethan bounded back in. "Can I show Dad my drum pad?" he asked Sophia, the word Dad slipping out naturally, striking Marcus with unexpected emotion. "Of course," Sophia nodded, watching as Ethan eagerly led Marcus to his bedroom. The electronic drum pad sat in the corner, well used but carefully maintained. Ethan demonstrated his skills, rudimentary but showing natural timing that couldn't be taught. "Mom got this for my birthday," he explained. "The neighbors don't like real drums in apartments," Marcus laughed. "That's why I built a studio, so people would stop complaining about my noise." "You have a whole place just for being loud?" Ethan asked, eyes wide with wonder. "I sure do. And someday, if your mom says it's okay, maybe you could come record something." Ethan's face lit up as he looked to Sophia, who had appeared in the doorway. "Can I, Mom, please?" "We'll see," she said, but her smile held no resistance. Later, as Marcus prepared to leave, Ethan surprised him with a hug, quick and impulsive, but genuine. "Thanks for the drumsticks, Dad." Marcus stood frozen, overwhelmed by the simple gesture and the casual use of Dad for the second time that day. "You're welcome, Ethan. I'll see you soon, okay?" After Ethan retreated to his room, Sophia walked Marcus to the door. "This went well," she offered. "He's amazing," Marcus replied, his voice rough with emotion. "You've done an incredible job with him, Sophia." "It wasn't always easy," she admitted. "There were nights I was so angry at you I could barely breathe. Other nights when I missed you so much it hurt physically." "I'm sorry," Marcus said, the inadequate words carrying the weight of 7 years of absence. "I know," Sophia replied simply. "We can't change the past, but—" She hesitated. "But what?" Marcus prompted. "Ethan has his father-son presentation at school next Friday. He asked if you would come." She seemed uncertain, adding quickly, "It's just a small thing. Each kid talking about what their parent does for work." "I told him I'd ask, but no pressure." "I'll be there," Marcus interrupted, certainty in his voice. "Just tell me when and where." As he drove home, Marcus realized something fundamental had shifted within him. The studio, his sanctuary for so long, suddenly felt empty. For the first time since returning to Harborview, he understood that soundproofed walls and mixing consoles had been poor substitutes for what he'd really been missing: family. Growing pains. The recording session was running late, but Marcus couldn't focus on the indie band currently butchering their third take. His eyes kept drifting to the clock. Ethan's baseball practice ended in 30 minutes, and Marcus had promised to pick him up. 3 months had transformed his life completely. Weekends with Ethan had expanded to Wednesday dinners, baseball practices, and impromptu drum lessons. Sophia had gradually lowered her guard, allowing Marcus increasing time with their son. The three of them had even shared Thanksgiving dinner together, awkward at first, but ending with genuine laughter over Ethan's animated storytelling. "Marcus? Hello? Earth to Studio guy?" The band's vocalist waved through the glass. "Was that? Take better or what? Let's try one more," Marcus suggested, buying time while texting Sophia about the delay. Her response was understanding but firm. "He's expecting you. Don't disappoint him." Those 4 words, "don't disappoint him," carried the weight of their history. Marcus knew she was really saying, "Don't be who you were before." Just as Marcus prepared to cut the session short, his office phone rang. Damien answered, then stuck his head into the control room. "It's Blaine Reynolds," he whispered excitedly. "From Astral Records. Says it's important." Marcus's heart stuttered. Astral Records, the label that had been showing interest in the studio's production work for months. This could be the break that put Wavelength on the national map. 10 minutes, he told Damien, then texted Sophia again. "Emergency work call. Can you get Ethan? I'll make it up to him." The disappointment in her reply was palpable. "Again? That's 3 times this month, Marcus." He winced but took the call anyway. Blaine's deep voice boomed through the speaker. "Marcus Reed! Got a proposition for you. Aspen Hollow needs a producer to finish their album after Julian Fox bailed. 6 weeks in Los Angeles, starting next Monday. It's the big leagues, kid." Marcus felt the familiar rush of ambition. Aspen Hollow, a band on the verge of mainstream breakthrough. This was the opportunity he'd been working toward for years. "Can I think about it?" he asked, already knowing this wasn't something he could refuse. 24 hours, Blaine replied. "This train's leaving the station." After ending the call, Marcus canceled the rest of the day's sessions and drove to Sophia's apartment, rehearsing explanations that sounded increasingly hollow with each traffic light. He found Ethan in the front yard, throwing a baseball against the wall with methodical precision. The boy's face lit up momentarily when he saw Marcus, then fell when he recognized the expression he was beginning to know, the one that meant broken promises. "You missed practice again," Ethan said, continuing to throw the ball. "I know, buddy. I'm sorry." Something came up at the studio. Marcus approached cautiously. "Where's your mom?" "Inside, grading papers." Ethan caught the ball and finally looked at him. "Coach Phillips said I'm getting better at catching pop flies." "That's awesome," Marcus said, genuinely proud but aware of the deflection. "Ethan, I need to talk to you and your mom about something important, something about work." Inside, Sophia listened silently as Marcus explained the opportunity, her expression unreadable until he mentioned the 6-week timeline. 6 weeks in Los Angeles? She repeated, glancing at Ethan, who was pretending not to listen from the kitchen table. "Right after you finally established a routine with him?" "It's Aspen Hollow," Marcus explained, as if the band's name should clarify everything. "This could put the studio on another level. Financial security, connections." "We've heard this before," Sophia interrupted quietly, mindful of Ethan's presence. "Different band, different city, same story." The parallels to their past hung heavily in the air. Marcus felt a familiar defensiveness rising but forced it down. "This isn't like before. I'm not abandoning anyone. It's 6 weeks, and I'll fly back for weekends when I can." "Dad?" Ethan's voice startled them both. Are you leaving? The naked vulnerability in his son's question hit Marcus harder than any accusation from Sophia could. Not forever, he assured quickly. Just for work. Remember how we talked about making records? This is a really important record. Ethan nodded slowly, processing this with a child's limited understanding of adult priorities. But you'll miss my science fair and the father-son camping trip. Marcus hadn't even known about the camping trip. The realization that Ethan had been making plans, creating expectations around his presence, twisted something deep in his chest. I can try to come back for those, he offered, the promise sounding empty even to his own ears. Later, standing in the parking lot with Sophia after Ethan had retreated to his room, the weight of his decision pressed down on Marcus. "You're doing it again," Sophia said softly. "Choosing the dream over what's real." "That's not fair," Marcus protested. "This is different. I'm different." "Are you?" she challenged. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks remarkably similar. You get a shot at something bigger and everything else becomes negotiable." "I can't turn this down," he insisted. "This could change everything for the studio. For all of us." Sophia's laugh held no humor. "That's exactly what you said before Europe. This tour will make us, Sophia. When I get back, we'll have everything we ever wanted." She shook her head. "But what Ethan wants isn't a successful father who visits occasionally. He just wants his dad to show up." As Marcus drove home, Blaine's offer echoed in his mind alongside Ethan's disappointed face and Sophia's knowing eyes. The choice that had seemed so clear-cut hours ago now felt like an impossible equation, and, for the first time, Marcus wasn't sure which variable mattered more. Full circle. The Los Angeles recording studio buzzed with activity as musicians, technicians, and label executives filtered in and out. 4 weeks into the Aspen Hollow project, Marcus had established himself as exactly the producer they needed, detail-oriented, innovative, and willing to push for one more take until perfection emerged. "Genius work on the bridge section," the lead singer commented during a break. "You've got the golden touch, Reed." Marcus nodded absently, checking his phone. No messages from Ethan since their video call 3 days ago. The conversation had been stilted, his son's responses increasingly monosyllabic. Even the excitement about the drum kit Marcus had shipped to him had faded after the novelty wore off. Sophia's updates were polite but distant. "Ethan got an A on his science project. Wished you could have seen his presentation." Or, "Baseball team made playoffs. First game Saturday at 2. Games, school events, ordinary weeknight dinners. Marcus was missing all of it. The weekend flights home he'd promised had materialized only twice, both visits shortened by urgent calls from the studio. "Earth to Marcus," Blaine appeared beside him, slapping his shoulder. "We're thinking of extending the sessions another 2 weeks. The label loves what they're hearing and wants to add 3 more tracks. 2 more weeks." Marcus stared at his phone. At the calendar reminder for Ethan's birthday in 11 days, a celebration he'd promised not to miss. "I can't do the extension," he heard himself say before fully processing the decision. "I've got a commitment back home I can't break." Blaine's eyebrows shot up. "This is Aspen Hollow, Marcus. People don't say no to these opportunities." "I'm not saying no to the album," Marcus clarified. "I'm saying we finish on schedule. If they want additional tracks, we can pick it up after I've been home for a while. The momentum will still be there," Marcus interrupted with newfound certainty. "But my son only turned 7 once." That night in his hotel room, Marcus made 2 calls. The first to Damien, instructing him to prepare wavelength for remote sessions connecting to the LA studio. "We're going to need upgrades to handle split-location production," he explained. "I'll be home more but still working with Astral's roster." The second call was to Sophia, who answered with surprise evident in her voice. "Marcus, is everything okay?" "I'm coming home," he said simply. "For Ethan's birthday. For good." The silence stretched long enough that he wondered if the connection had dropped. Finally, she asked, "What about the album? The big opportunity?" "We'll finish the primary tracks next week. I've restructured the rest. He paused, organizing thoughts that had crystallized during the day. I'm not walking away from my career, Sophia. Just redefining what success looks like. And what does it look like? She asked cautiously. Like being there for his birthday. Like not missing baseball playoffs. Like keeping promises. Marcus took a deep breath. I made this mistake once before. I won't make it again. 2 weeks later, Wavelength Studios hosted an unusual birthday party. Equipment had been pushed aside to make room for dinosaur decorations and a small crowd of 6-year-olds who marveled at the soundproofed walls and professional instruments. In the center stood Ethan, beaming as he showed friends his father's mixing console. You can actually touch the drums, Marcus assured the wide-eyed children. Music is meant to be played, not just listened to. As the kids experimented with instruments under Damien's patient guidance, Sophia approached Marcus with 2 coffee cups. This was a good idea, she admitted, watching Ethan demonstrate a basic drum beat to his friends. He hasn't stopped talking about it for days. It's just the beginning, Marcus promised. Wait until you see what I have planned for the camping trip. Sophia's smile held cautious warmth. The studio seems quieter. Fewer sessions, more selective projects. Quality over quantity, Marcus shrugged. And we're implementing remote connection protocols. I can produce from here while artists record in LA or Nashville. You're really doing this, she observed. Restructuring everything. Some things matter more than Grammy nominations, Marcus said, watching Ethan. It just took me a while to figure that out. After the party, when the last guest had departed and Ethan was examining his gifts, Marcus asked Sophia to step into his office. From his desk drawer, he retrieved a small box. I'm not proposing, he clarified quickly, seeing her expression. That would be presumptuous after everything. He opened the box to reveal a key. This is to the cottage on Lighthouse Point. I bought it last week. You bought a house? Sophia asked, confused. For Ethan, Marcus explained. And for me, of course. But mostly for him. It's 10 minutes from your apartment. 3 bedrooms, a yard for baseball practice, and, he smiled, a soundproofed basement studio. Marcus, I know we're not there yet, he interrupted gently. Maybe we never will be again. But I want Ethan to have a real home with me, not just weekend visits to the studio. And I want it to be close enough that his life stays stable. Sophia took the key, examining it thoughtfully. You've changed, she finally said. Had to, Marcus replied. Some lessons take longer to learn than others. Later, as they watched Ethan demonstrating his new electronic keyboard to his stuffed dinosaur audience, Sophia leaned slightly against Marcus's shoulder. The first voluntary contact since her return. Do you think, she asked quietly, we could bring Ethan to see the cottage tomorrow? Just to get his thoughts? I'd like that, Marcus replied, carefully placing his arm around her shoulder, relieved when she didn't pull away. Maybe afterward the 3 of us could get ice cream. Like a family. Like a family, Sophia repeated, the words carrying neither promise nor rejection. Just possibility. One step at a time, Marcus. Ethan looked up then, catching them in this almost embrace, his smile widening with a child's hopeful perception. For Marcus, that smile represented everything he'd almost lost chasing emptier dreams, and everything he was now determined to preserve. One careful day at a time. One step at a time, he agreed, finally understanding that the most important production of his life would never be recorded in any studio. It was being composed right here in the messy, imperfect, beautiful harmony of second chances.